You've been lied to. Not by some villain in a suit, not by a shadowy figure behind a curtain, but by the world around you. From the moment you could understand language, you were fed a script about money, that it's hard to get, easy to lose, and only belongs to the lucky, the ruthless, or the chosen. You were told to study hard, work harder, play by the rules, and maybe, just maybe, you'd retire with enough left over to finally enjoy life. But look around. Does that look like it's working? Because if money was really just about hard work, the construction workers, the nurses, the single mums, the freelancers burning the candle at both ends, they'd all be billionaires. And yet, they struggle, they grind, they sacrifice, and they still come up short. That's not a coincidence. That's not bad luck. That's the cost of buying into a belief system that was never designed for your freedom. You were trained to survive inside a system that rewards obedience, not abundance. But here's the truth no one ever told you. Money isn't real, not in the way you've been taught. It's not paper, it's not math, it's not a reward for good behavior. Money is energy, and energy follows attention, belief, emotion. The second you shift your internal frequency, money starts behaving differently around you. It moves faster, it shows up easier, it sticks around longer. But until you understand this, you'll keep chasing it like a ghost, wondering why it disappears the moment you get close. See, money doesn't respond to grind. It doesn't care how many hours you put in, how much sleep you sacrifice, or how badly you want it. That's the trap. We've been conditioned to think that money is earned through effort, and if we're not seeing results, we must not be working hard enough. So we double down. We hustle harder. We burn out. And yet the needle barely moves. Why? Because money isn't a wage. It's a mirror. It reflects your beliefs about yourself, your value, your safety in the world. If deep down you believe you're not worthy, if you carry shame or guilt around wealth, if you feel unsafe having more than you need, then money will keep confirming that story. Every raise followed by an emergency. Every bonus swallowed by debt. Every win overshadowed by fear that it's all about to collapse. You're not cursed. You're not doomed. You're just out of alignment. The energy you carry, your thoughts, your emotions, your identity, is the tuning fork that determines your financial reality. And right now, that energy is broadcasting a signal, loud and clear. The only question is, what station are you tuned into? Most people are stuck on the same frequency their entire lives and don't even realize it. Imagine there are only two channels money responds to: lack and flow. That's it. Lack is the static-filled station of fear, shame, hustle, and scarcity. Flow is the smooth, clear signal of trust, alignment, and openness. Every single day, you're transmitting one of these two signals into the world, and the universe responds accordingly. If you're stuck in lack, you might think you're working on your finances, but what you're really doing is managing your fear. You stress over bills, panic about prices, feel guilty when you spend, hoard when you should trust, and apologize for even wanting more. Your energy says, "I'm not safe," and so money keeps proving you right. It slips through your fingers. It vanishes just when you need it. Or worse, it never even shows up. But when you shift into the frequency of flow, everything changes. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop controlling and start allowing. You move through life with an unshakable sense that money wants to find you, that it's looking for open, clear vessels to pour into. And here's the wild part. Flow doesn't begin with external change. It starts with internal choice. It begins the moment you decide to stop believing the old story. The story that says you're too late, too behind, too broken, too ordinary. The story that says success is reserved for someone else, that money is scarce and you should be grateful for crumbs, that wanting more makes you greedy, selfish, unspiritual. All of that, every single word of it, is a lie designed to keep you small. Because if you knew your true power, if you understood the mechanics of energy, belief, and alignment, you'd never chase money again. You'd become a magnet for it. Right now, you are either reinforcing the frequency of fear or amplifying the frequency of abundance. There's no in-between. It doesn't matter how much you meditate, journal, or visualize. If underneath it all you still feel unworthy, scared, or stuck, then your dominant signal will always be one of lack. The good news? You can change that. Not by doing more, but by becoming more aligned, more aware, more intentional. Because money is not physical, it's metaphysical. It flows to who you are being, not just what you are doing. And when your inner world shifts, your outer world has no choice but to catch up. So let's talk about the spell you've been under, because that's exactly what it is. A subconscious script running in the background, shaping your every decision around money, and you didn't even choose it. It started the first time you asked for something as a kid and heard, "We can't afford that." The first time you saw your parents fight over a bill. The first time you felt guilt for wanting more than what was handed to you. These weren't just isolated moments, they were emotional blueprints. And every single time it happened, a little piece of your nervous system got hardwired to believe one thing. There's never enough. Money is hard. It's not safe to have it. It's even more dangerous to want it. That belief didn't just sit in your mind, it dropped into your body. And now, it lives there, in the tightening of your chest when the rent's due, in the lump in your throat when you price your services, in the guilt you feel when something good finally happens and you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. That is the scarcity spell. And it's not just psychological, it's energetic. It colors every action you take, every opportunity you ignore, every client you undercharge, every dream you delay because some part of you believes money will betray you the moment it arrives. This isn't just about trauma or upbringing. This goes deeper. Scarcity becomes an identity, a familiar cage that tricks you into thinking it's safe. You begin to confuse humility with shrinking. You convince yourself that desiring more is selfish. You wear struggle like it's a badge of honor. You say things like, "I'm just being realistic," or "It's not about the money," when deep down you're terrified that if you did have money, you'd lose it, waste it, or become someone people resent. That fear, that shame, that's the real thief. Not taxes, not inflation, not the economy. Scarcity is a frequency that leaks out of your pores, and until you stop identifying with it, it doesn't matter how many affirmations you repeat, how many hours you work, or how many side hustles you start. You'll keep reinforcing the very pattern you're trying to break. Because the most dangerous thing about the scarcity mindset isn't just that it blocks abundance, it convinces you it's the truth. And once you believe that, you don't even question the system anymore. You accept scraps and call it gratitude. You survive paycheck to paycheck and call it being responsible. You chase certainty, not freedom. And all the while, the spell deepens. But there's a law most people don't realize they're breaking every single day. The law of circulation. Money is energy, and energy is designed to move. It's not meant to be clutched in panic or hidden away in fear. That's like trying to hold your breath so you never exhale. Eventually, it breaks you. Think about it. When you're in flow, money feels light. You spend with ease. You receive with joy. You tip without checking your balance. You invest in yourself without second guessing. That's because you trust the current. You know more is always on the way. But the moment fear kicks in, when you start hoarding, shrinking, hesitating, you disrupt the flow. You send a signal that says, "I don't trust the system, I don't trust myself, I don't believe there's more coming." And the universe listens. It always does. Because energy doesn't respond to your words, it responds to your state. Your body tells the truth even when your mouth lies. And when your state is tight, defensive, and bracing for loss, you block the very thing you're asking for. Money doesn't like to be trapped. It thrives in movement, in generosity, in confidence. That's why giving, even a little with intention, is one of the fastest ways to shift your frequency. Not because of karma, not because it's morally good, but because it proves to your subconscious, I trust the flow. I'm not in fear. I have more than enough. And here's where most people get it completely backwards. They think holding on tighter will protect them. That if they just budget harder, track every penny, cancel every joy, and delay every investment, they'll finally feel secure. But security doesn't come from control. It comes from alignment. Real wealth is a feeling, not a number. It's the peace of knowing that money moves to you, not away from you. That you're safe to release it and safe to receive it again. But when you hoard, you stop the cycle. You trap energy. You create stagnation. You send the message, I don't believe in expansion. I'm operating from fear. And energy always mirrors belief. Always. So if you're trying to attract more while holding on to every dollar like it's your last breath, you're telling the universe, I'm not ready for overflow. I'm surviving, not thriving. You want to flip that? Start with one small act of circulation. Give without fear. Spend with joy. Invest in yourself with certainty. And watch how quickly things begin to move again. Because the moment you open that channel, the system responds. Not someday. Instantly. Now here's the truth you were never taught. Money is not your master. It's not your savior either. It's a tool, a reflection, a mirror, and you were never meant to bow to it. But from the moment you were old enough to understand its power, you were trained to fear it, to chase it, to serve it. You were taught that your value is measured by your productivity, that success means sacrifice, that wanting money makes you greedy. And just like that, your entire self-worth got entangled with a belief system that was never yours to begin with. You became a servant to a symbol that isn't even real, not in the way you think. Because money at its core is not value, it's belief, a shared illusion, a collective agreement, a frequency. That means money isn't chasing the smartest or the strongest. It's chasing the clearest, the most aligned, the most open. The ones who know that wealth isn't something you earn. It's something you allow. The moment you remember that, everything changes. You stop working for money and start working with it. You stop asking for permission and start commanding your space. You walk differently, talk differently, price yourself differently. You realize that your time is sacred, that your presence has weight, that your energy is your most valuable currency. And every time you waste it on people, projects, or environments that don't align, you're leaking wealth. Because money follows energy, and energy follows belief, and belief follows identity. So if your identity is still wrapped in guilt, fear, and smallness, money will feel that and stay away. But if you reclaim your power, if you own your value, if you stop apologizing for wanting more, the flow begins again, effortlessly. Because the truth is, you were never meant to hustle for money. You were meant to magnetize it, not through force, but through resonance. So, let's talk about the blueprint. Not the one you scribbled in a journal during a New Year's resolution. Not the one in your business plan or your bank app. I mean the real one. The subconscious script that's quietly dictating your entire financial life. Because here's what almost no one tells you. The beliefs that shape your income, your spending habits, your ability to receive, your emotional response to wealth. They were all installed long before you had a choice. By 7 years old, your nervous system had already decided what money meant. Whether it was safe, whether it was scarce, whether having it would make you powerful or make you a target. And every experience you've had since then has either reinforced that programming or triggered it. That's why logic doesn't fix your money problems. That's why affirmations fall flat when your body is bracing for loss. Because your subconscious doesn't speak logic. It speaks repetition, emotion, energy, identity. And unless you rewire that identity, unless you install new patterns, you will unconsciously keep recreating the same financial limits over and over, no matter how much you learn or how hard you work. So how do you rewrite the blueprint? Not by faking confidence, not by forcing affirmations, but by building a new energetic baseline, one that feels normal, even when it's brand new. You start with your identity. You stop asking, how can I make more money? And start asking, who do I need to become to receive the level of wealth I say I want? Because let's be real, if money showed up tomorrow in the form of a massive opportunity, a contract, a client, a raise, would your system even know how to hold it? Or would you shrink, sabotage, panic? Most people want more money, but they're not prepared to receive it. Their energy field is still wired for survival, not overflow. They still associate wealth with danger, change, rejection, or loss. So they attract it and push it away, attract it and collapse under the pressure. The work is in becoming the version of you who doesn't flinch, who doesn't self-destruct, who receives with ease because receiving is who they are now. That version of you doesn't beg, doesn't hustle for validation, doesn't apologize for charging high prices. That version speaks a different language, walks into rooms with a different weight, makes decisions from abundance, not fear. And here's what happens when you commit to that version of you. Everything around you starts rearranging. People respond to your energy before they hear your words. Clients, partners, mentors, suddenly they appear. Not because they're random, but because you tuned into the signal where they already existed. The universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you who you are being. So the moment you start acting, thinking, speaking, and feeling like a wealthy person, not in a flashy, performative way, but in a calm, grounded, unshakable way, your environment begins to shift. You become magnetic, not because you're perfect, but because you're aligned. And alignment doesn't mean everything is easy. It means you're done living out of sync, done pretending, done betraying your truth for scraps. You raise your prices. You stop chasing the wrong people. You walk away from low-energy deals, not because you're trying to be someone else, but because you've returned to who you really are beneath the scarcity spell. That's when the wealth begins to stick, not as a fluke, but as a reflection of your new energetic home. You no longer feel like an imposter in abundance. You don't sabotage good things out of fear. You stop identifying with struggle as your personality. And here's the wildest part. You become unavailable for anything less than overflow. Not through resistance, but through resonance. You don't fight scarcity, you outgrow it. Because scarcity stops feeling like home. You no longer tolerate it in your body, in your mind, or in your relationships. And that's the real wealth, not the money in your account, but the version of you who finally knows what to do with it, how to hold it, how to multiply it without losing yourself in the process. You build that version brick by brick, word by word, thought by thought. You make space, you clean out the old stories, and you install new ones so powerfully that your nervous system can't tell the difference between imagination and reality. That's how you shift the blueprint. Now let's go deeper, because most people define wealth too narrowly. They think wealth means stacks of money, big houses, fast cars, expensive clothes. And while there's nothing wrong with any of that, that's not the highest form of abundance. That's just the byproduct. True wealth begins as a state of being. It's a calm mind, a rested body, a deep sense of knowing that you are safe, held, supported, and free. It's the ability to breathe fully, to make decisions from desire instead of desperation, to wake up without dread in your chest. It's not just what's in your bank account, it's what's not in your heart. Fear, pressure, shame, guilt. Real wealth is being able to say no without guilt and yes without fear. It's the power to walk away, the freedom to create, the space to rest. It's owning your time, your energy, your peace. And that kind of wealth can't be measured in dollars, but it's the kind of wealth that makes dollars stick. So if you're chasing cash but ignoring your peace, you're missing the point. Because you can make money from anxiety, but you'll spend it from stress. You can build a business from fear, but you'll burn it down with burnout. The foundation has to change. The question isn't, how much can I earn, but how much can I hold without breaking? That's the capacity you need to expand. Because if your nervous system is still wired for crisis, even the biggest paycheck won't make you feel safe. You'll blow it, avoid it, or attract chaos to get rid of it. Not because you're broken, but because the body always returns to what it knows. And if your body only knows struggle, struggle is what it recreates. That's why the wealthiest people are not always the richest. They're the ones with the cleanest energy, the clearest focus, the deepest safety. They've built an internal home that abundance can visit and stay in. And when you start to build that for yourself, through ritual, through awareness, through intention, money stops being a chase. It becomes a response, a reflection, an aftershock of your alignment. That's the shift that changes everything. Not just how you earn, but how you feel while earning. Not just what you get, but what you can finally receive without guilt. Because now, your system is no longer rejecting wealth. It's ready, it's prepared, it's safe. Rituals aren't just routines. They're signals. Signals to your nervous system, your subconscious, and the field around you that say, I am ready, I am in command, I am aligned. But most people never think of money as something you have to prepare for energetically. They treat wealth like a lightning strike, random and rare, rather than a current that flows where there's space, structure, and safety. That's why they don't just fail to attract abundance, they fail to hold it when it arrives. Because there's no ritual, no pattern, no signal that says, this person is a match. Think of it like this. Your energy field is the container, and your habits are the architecture that shape that container. If your habits are built on fear, if you spend from guilt, give from emptiness, or save from panic, your energy leaks. The vessel cracks, and when the flow of money enters, it drains just as fast as it came in. So if you want lasting wealth, you don't start with the strategy. You start with the structure. You start with the rituals that align you with abundance before the money even arrives. One of the most powerful rituals you can begin immediately is the circulation ritual. Money that doesn't move becomes dead weight. It clogs. It stagnates. It creates anxiety, resentment, fear. So you reverse the pattern by proving to your subconscious that you are no longer a prisoner of lack. This is simple, but profound. Give some money away, without attachment, without fear. Not because you're a saint, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you're demonstrating trust in the flow. Even $5 given with intention shifts the frequency. Slip it into a stranger's hand, leave it anonymously, tip generously. But while you do it, say something to yourself like, I let it move because I know it always returns multiplied. That phrase alone disrupts the fear loop. You're not sacrificing, you're circulating. You're not losing, you're leading. And the field around you feels that and responds. Next, you ritualize spending. This is where most people unknowingly kill their abundance. They swipe their cards with a pit in their stomach. They pay bills with clenched teeth. They make purchases followed by guilt, panic, or shame. That energy lingers. It programs the experience. And the message your system receives is clear. Spending is dangerous. That's how people end up resenting money even as they use it. But it doesn't have to be that way. Take one of your recent receipts from a purchase that made you feel joy, not survival spending, but something that felt expansive, fun, aligned. On the back of that receipt, write, "This returns to me multiplied with ease." fold it. Keep it in your wallet, your purse, your desk, somewhere you'll see it often. Because every time you touch it, every time your nervous system registers it, you're not just remembering a purchase. You're reinforcing a pattern. I am the source. Money flows through me, not to me. And that changes everything. Then there's the overflow envelope. This one rewires your relationship with receiving. Most people save money with tension. They stockpile it in case something goes wrong. They call it security, but energetically, it's lack. It's preparation for pain. The overflow envelope is different. It's not for emergencies. It's not for bills. It's not for backup. It's for evidence. Evidence that you have more than enough. Every time money comes in, even a small amount, put 5% or 10% into an envelope labeled overflow. Don't touch it. Don't spend it. Don't use it to pay anything. Just let it grow as a physical symbol that you operate from abundance now. That you're no longer surviving. You're expanding. Over time, this envelope becomes more than just storage. It becomes a visual anchor, a subconscious cue that wealth is normal, that receiving is safe, that having extra is allowed, and that alone will rewire your field faster than any motivational speech ever could. But the most important ritual isn't something you do with money, it's something you do with yourself. Every morning, before the world grabs your attention, you wake up and claim your energy. You say out loud, I command my energy back. I close all open loops. I am safe to receive. I am ready to hold more. That sounds simple, maybe even silly to your logical brain, but your subconscious doesn't care about logic. It cares about repetition. Commanding your energy in the morning is like setting the tone of your entire signal. You're not starting your day in reaction. You're starting it in sovereignty. And the more you do this, the more your reality begins to conform. Because here's the secret that gets buried under all the hustle and noise. You don't attract what you chase. You attract what you embody. You attract what feels familiar. And if chaos feels familiar, you'll create it. If lack feels like home, you'll sabotage abundance. But if peace becomes your baseline, if overflow becomes your identity, then wealth becomes a natural extension of who you are. Not something you perform for, not something you beg for, something you hold with ease because it matches the vibration you've chosen to live in. Now this is the part where most people stop. They do the work, they shift a little, they see a glimpse of flow, but they don't lock it in, they don't stabilize it. And within a few weeks, they collapse back into the old pattern, the old panic, the old scarcity. Why? Because they never claimed their return. They never sealed the identity. And here's what you need to know right now. The final step is not more effort, it's embodiment. You lock in the new frequency by acting like it's already your default. That doesn't mean pretending. That means deciding. Deciding that you no longer tolerate lack, not just financially, but emotionally, spiritually, energetically. You walk different. You think different. You don't second-guess every decision. You don't chase scraps. You don't keep people around who drain your signal. You build a life that reflects your worth, and you stop negotiating with energies that don't. Because here's the truth. You've spent your whole life adjusting yourself to fit into a world that expected you to shrink, to settle, to be grateful for crumbs. But now you remember, money is not your master. It's not your enemy. It's not your identity. It's your reflection. And the clearer your energy becomes, the more faithful that reflection gets. So you don't wait for proof. You don't wait for the deposit to feel abundant. You don't wait for permission to shift. You shift now. You become it now. And that's when the game changes. Not someday, not eventually, instantly. Because money isn't waiting for you to be perfect. It's waiting for you to be aligned. And when you finally are, it flows. Because money, like all energy, is loyal to the signal you never knew you were sending.